You can't see the metal plate that runs the length of my left leg that's holding my knee together. You can't see the nausea and vomiting that has caused me to lose 60 pounds in the last year. And you can't see the insomnia that kept me up until 3 in the morning. Cannabis is what keeps me moving, active, and functional. You heard Senator Cole Wells tell you about what's waiting for us in Olympia, and Allison Holcomb confirmed that. They are looking to repeal our medical marijuana law, potentially. And it's not enough to say hell no and to say that we don't like it. We have to be able to clearly articulate what it is that we want from them. So I've gone around the state and I've been talking to stakeholders, and I've been talking to a lot of you in this room to find out where our common ground is. We all want home grows. We all want cooperative cultivation. And we all believe that the affirmative defense, the cornerstone of our law that was passed in 1998, must stay in place no matter what. There shouldn't be any restrictions on the doctor-patient relationship. Doctors need flexibility to modify their treatment plans based on their one-on-one relationships with individual patients. And we need civil protections, just like any other prescription medication. Protections for organ transplants, protection for housing and employment, protections from court supervision, and PTSD needs to be added to the list. We don't need a registry. It's legal in this state. If you don't have to register to buy your marijuana from a store recreationally, then why would a patient have to register? And we do not tax medicine in this state. Just last week, cannabis was added to the American Herbal Pharmacopoeia as an official botanical medicine. To the work of our partners at Americans for Safe Access. And you know, it mirrors an exemption that we already have in law in this state, which says that any medicine, animal, botanical, or mineral that is recommended by a doctor should not be taxed. Sales, use, or excise. Cannabis is no different. And lastly, we want a licensing and regulatory framework, just like 502. Our commercial businesses need some protection. They want licenses and they want regulations. 80 of them in this state are paying taxes, not because the law says they have to, because they want to. They deserve to have a licensing and regulatory framework. There's 300 of these businesses right here in the city of Seattle. And if we fold them all into 502, that's 300 businesses that aren't going to exist. I want you to think about all the commercial real estate that's currently occupied by cannabis businesses and imagine it vacant. That's what the legislature wants to do by forcing us into the 502 system. 502 stores won't work for us. They don't exist. And when they do, they aren't going to have the products that we need, and certainly they're not going to be at the prices we can afford. But we can't afford to wait for the 502 stores to open and then fix this problem. The federal government has said that our medical marijuana program is untenable in light of the new Cole memo that was issued. So while the rest of the states were talking about the Cole memo giving us a green light to move forward with commercial production, our U.S. attorneys here in Washington said that that was an excuse to wipe out our medical marijuana program. And the cities and counties have said if the feds don't do it, they will. The city of Seattle has said you need a medical marijuana license by January 1st, 2015. That license does not exist right now. If we do not provide a regulatory framework for people to get those licenses, there will not be any access points in the city of Seattle. And that's why the legislature is taking action on this. And they are taking action. They didn't ask 3 state agencies to make recommendations so they could ignore those recommendations. They asked for recommendations because they're going to pass a law this year. So we better be able to, again, clearly articulate what it is we want from them and what it is that's wrong with what they're trying to do to us. Obviously, freedom isn't free. We all have to fight for it. The Health Before Happy Hour campaign is a way for all of you to easily plug in and take action. It's already backed up by people like Americans for Safe Access, the Center for the Study of Cannabis and Social Policy, Coalition for Cannabis Standards and Ethics, and many, many others. The vast majority of this community have said we cannot wait until 2015 for legislation. We want it now, in January. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go to helpbeforehappyhour.org. There's also flyers that are being handed out. They're at the tables at the front, and Melissa Heisem has them back there. And lastly, join us at our fundraiser immediately following this event, where you can also learn more. And next up, we have Poppy Sidhu, Michelle Sexton, naturopathic doctor, and Philip Dowdy from the Washington Cannabis Association. Poppy?
My name is Sidhu. Many of you know me as Poppy Sidhu. I am a human rights advocate and a medical marijuana activist. I am currently a medical marijuana patient in the state of Washington, and I am also a victim of the failed drug war. Now, I say the failed drug war because as we are progressing into legal cannabis, and as our medical laws are amending, changing, and might be taken away, I'm still facing 30 years in prison from Bellingham. We were raided in March of 2012, and we are still currently facing about 6 to 7 felonies with a minimum of 5 years each. I call this drug war failed. Today, I'm standing in front of you as a woman of color, pleading for unity. Unity is what we need in the community. You cannot have a community without unity. I will be the first one to say that I was the treasurer of the No on I-502 campaign. We were fighting for patients' rights. And unfortunately, my old boss and my worst enemy, Steve, was excluded from speaking today. I had a discussion with Steve because I felt as though exclusionism was happening within our own community. And that is something that a community should not be. So, what I bring to the table is a demand for social change. Human rights are being violated every single day. You have patients being arrested and prosecuted under our current medical marijuana laws. You have parents of children who are epileptic or cancer patients, or just their parents use cannabis. You have their human rights being violated and their children's getting taken away. The biggest issue that I see right now is social change. And I've watched the medical marijuana community go from a movement slowly into industry. And that is something that I can't believe it's happening. I thought we were a movement. I thought we were here to stand up for medical marijuana and stand up for medical marijuana patients' rights, not become a part of this industry that's a part of essentially the failed drug war. I guess I would like to see less exclusionism, and next town hall meeting, I would really like for Hempfest to throw another town hall meeting. The discussion is just now beginning. You've had over 20 to 30 people come up here, all with different voices, all with different, parts of what makes our community. And when it comes to me, I'm all about social change, and right now, medical cannabis might be going away. So who is our worst enemy? It's not Yes on I-502, it's not Allison Holcomb, it's not all these people. The real enemy is the people that are recommending these rules and regulations to be implemented on us. And I say us because I believe more than 75% of the patients, or 75% of the people in this room are patients. So basically, I'm going to leave it off with what the word unity means. It's a combination of parts in a whole. Basically, the state of being joined as a whole. And that includes the good, bad, and the ugly. And right now, our human rights are being violated. Whether you're a medical marijuana patient, or you're a 502 recreational user, or you're Hindu like I am, and you believe in the spiritual and religious beliefs of cannabis. So right now, our human rights are being violated, and social change is something we need, and we can't let our medical marijuana laws be implemented into I-502 because industry versus movement. I'm pretty sure a lot of people in here know, and I don't have any personal interest in, the community. I'm not a business owner. I don't even work on an access point anymore. I'm basically just advocating for human rights. And right now, our industry is being broken up, and I really hope that everyone kind of takes a step back and realize that we have a really big battle right now, and that's to save medical cannabis. So I hope everyone continues this discussion and approaches even people like Steve Sarich, because Steve Sarich does have an opinion, just like everyone else in this room. Thank you.
Okay, well, while we get that worked out, we're going to go ahead and call up Dr. Michelle Sexton.
I'm so honored to be here today, and I was asked to speak on behalf of the Center for the Study of Cannabis and Social Policy. And if you don't know of us, I hope you'll look us up. It was mentioned having an institute of research, and actually there is a research institute here in Seattle, founded by Dr. Dominic Corva, and also affiliated. And the person who's really responsible for me being here today is Dr. Sunil Agarwal, who probably many of you know. So thanks to Sunil for all that he's done and for bringing me here today. Brought with me today a plant ally. This is my tea tree oil, and I'm treating a fungus on my fingernail with it. I brought another plant ally because I heard that there's a horrible something or other going around up here in Seattle, and I'm living in San Diego now and I didn't want to get sick. And so this is it's called Stamets 7 Immune Support. It's made with mushrooms. Are we here today for any of these plants? No, why not? It's a great question because cannabis is a botanical medicine. And like Carrie just said, I was a liaison for Americans for Safe Access and worked with Roy Upton on producing the cannabis monograph, which has been adopted by the state of Washington, looks like it's going to be adopted also by the state of Oregon, to guide quality assurance and quality control. And what this has been is an effort to bring cannabis in as a botanical medicine. The botanical industry has worked a long time towards self-regulation. And this document is one of several that's being used to help the rest of the industry learn how to self-regulate. What I really wanted to say is that I'm here today because of a woman who walked into my office, debilitating pain her entire life. She was making her own wine, is what she told me, drinking a bottle a day. She had agoraphobia, could hardly leave her house. I wrote her a cannabis recommendation, thanks to Senator Cole Wells, that she expanded the providers who could recommend cannabis to patients. This woman overcame a level of her agoraphobia and she quit drinking a bottle a day of homemade wine. And I consider that significant impact on her health and quality of life. I'm here for another patient that was on about 5 or 6 different pain medications. She hadn't left her bed since giving birth a number of years previously, couldn't care for her family at all, quit cold turkey these medications, started using cannabis, and is a fully functioning adult, out of bed every morning, bouncing out of bed at 7 o'clock, running her household. I'm here because of a woman debilitated by multiple sclerosis and thereby addicted to benzodiazepines. And if anybody knows anything about benzodiazepine withdrawal, it's horrible. She's been able to significantly come off of that drug and onto a cannabis variety and live a more normal life than she had before. And finally, I'm here today because I've been the doctor to children, pediatric patients. This is what breaks my heart the most. As a doctor, I always thought I wanted to care for suffering people. And it's painful to watch people suffer and to watch your patients suffer. There are children that, it's been stated, we have a parent here today, that have been suffering from debilitating seizure disorders that cannabidiol-rich variety is helping. There are oncology pediatric patients. I have a five-year-old patient. He's not directly in my care, but I'm in communication with his father. And this is what his father said. After administering my child so much poison, I can't explain how it feels knowing that I'm giving him something that's good for him. So we can't always clinically measure the effects of cannabis in somebody's life. What it means for some of these parents is that they sleep through the night for the first time in years. We don't value quality of life enough, and the potential for this plant and many others to bring quality of life to human beings. So what all these patients have in common, and with many of you here in this room, is that they're not black marketeers, they're not gray marketeers, they're not marketeers at all, they're patients. And I agree with Alison Holcomb that the movement has largely piggybacked onto the medical patients movement. And now is not the time to throw these patients under the bus. So I-502 has confirmed what? That cannabis is for everybody, right? Anybody over the age of 21 or age of 21 and up can walk in a store and buy it. Is it really congruent to say that if you want to use it as a medicine, you have to go jump through a bunch of hurdles and live under a police state with your name on a registry? As a doctor, I see an incongruency there. I also see an incongruency that the money collected is going to go for studying it as a drug of addiction, which is the same stigma that's been imposed upon us by the federal government. It's time that we're able to study this as a therapeutic compound for our patients. So at the Center for the Study of Cannabis and Social Policy, we're looking at ways to implement an IRB, which is what you have to do to have a valid human clinical study. We're interested in the natural history of people using the natural plant and what's available to them in their own locality, just like we use many other plants. So we're all navigating these turbulent waters together. And I've just learned to surf since I've moved to San Diego. And sometimes you have a northwest swell interfacing with the southwest swell. And I'll tell you what, it's not easy to catch a ride on those waves. But we're on a wave and we've got to catch a ride. Washington has got to be a light here, and I think we got the beginnings of it, and maybe there's a long tunnel to go through. But some of us are not the garden, and some of us the weed. We're all a weed here. We're all here for a plant called cannabis, and it's a weed, and anybody should be able to grow a weed in their backyard. Let's rise above the strife. Let's transcend any disunity. It's really a time to come together, build coalitions, come together for this plant. Just remember the plant. John Lennon said it, come together right now. Yeah. And in closing, I just wanted this Tom Waits lyric that I liked. It says, pin your ear to the wisdom post, pin your eye to the line, never let the weeds get higher than the garden, and always keep a sapphire, always keep a diamond in your mind.
But next we have Martin Martinez, who is helping sponsor this program with Cannabis Medical Dictionary.
Thank you. Please give me some patience with my crippled voice. I was in a motorcycle crash 26 years ago, and I didn't know why that happened. A lot of people told me that God saved me for a reason, and I didn't know what that reason was for about 10 years. But about 10 years after that, I was arrested for growing medical marijuana in my home, and I realized what my life mission was. I've had no choice. I need medical marijuana to survive and to be a functioning human being. And we all know the value of medical marijuana, but I've been living this for a long time. I was first arrested for growing in 1996. I went through 2 years of legal battles and the first medical necessity trial in Seattle. In 1997, after I proved the value of medical marijuana in court, they still wanted to put me in jail for 90 days. Okay? But I was freed. I was freed by public outcry. That is a very important lesson that we should all remember. We have the power of the people, the power of the voice. Stand up for your rights. This is the time. It's a very important lesson. As Al Gore pointed out, the Chinese word for crisis also means opportunity. It's another big lesson we gotta remember. My doctor filed the Medical Use Act of 1998. I founded the Lifeline Collective in 1999. And we've been on patients helping patients ever since. Some of you may know my friend Elena. She built websites. She helped me manage Lifeline in recent years. We didn't know why she was so sick until she was diagnosed with cancer last year. We had a lot of marijuana plants growing in our house because patients need a lot of medicine, especially to fight cancer. The government does not want us to know that cannabis fights cancer. Earlier this year, the National Institute for Health released a paper on their website that noted several studies that demonstrate how cannabis fights tumor development. That paper was quickly edited to say that cannabis provides only symptomatic relief for cannabis patients. But you can still find references to the science for medical marijuana at cannabismedicaldictionary.com. There's a lot of research out there. Making oils and other concentrated cannabis medicines requires a lot more marijuana than most people understand. We had the same amount, 134 plants, at Elena's house last year. Police raided her home the day before Thanksgiving. They stole almost all of our medicine. They tried to charge me for that, but they had to give up because I had a strong attorney. However, they did not return the medicine. Tremendous loss. Elena has been suffering without the medicine that might have saved her life for more than a year. She is really dying now. She stopped eating last week. She will probably not see Christmas. She might have been saved, but the police destroyed her garden. I've spent huge amounts of money trying to give her the medicine that might help her, but it's not good enough. This is not a political campaign. This movement for medical cannabis is about life and death. I have one more thing to say. The Lifeline motto has been patients helping patients since before it was legal. The Lifeline Collective is not going to shut down, no matter what the law says. Thank you all for coming. Please make a phone call. Everybody on the same side. We are all on the same side regardless of our differing opinions. We need to stand together. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. And moving right along, we have Philip Dowdy from the Washington Cannabis Association.
This is on. Hi. Thank you all for coming today and sitting around and listening to all of us blabber. Following Martin is kind of difficult to do. And looking at you while following Martin is kind of difficult to do because you're my godfathers, godparents, whatever the heck you are. What I want to tell you is there's going to be legislation that happens next year, no matter what anybody in the room wants or doesn't want. It's nice to now be hearing that somebody is definitely going to try and repeal medical marijuana. Boy, are we going to go after them. But most importantly, you know, not only was 502 not constructed to end medical marijuana, the fact of the matter is there's people in government who seem to be under the misapprehension that the 502 system, that all pot is the same, and that the 502 system is totally ready to turn on and serve patients tomorrow. No way, no way. I'm part of a 502 production company. We don't have seed one in the ground, and I don't want to be put in a position where I have to grow for patients for probably several years. We're just not going to be there. We're not ready. And to give you an idea of how convoluted some of this application process has gotten for 502, for fun the other night, and yeah, this will tell you how exciting my life is. For fun the other night, I went through the list of retail applicants for the city of Seattle because I know the city of Seattle pretty well. There were people applying for retail licenses out of single-family homes. I'm not joking. There are people applying for 502 retail licenses right next to parks, including 2 right over by Freeway Park. They're clearly not going to be getting a 502 retail license. But my favorite one of all, that just shows you how screwed up some of the people are who are chasing the big carrot over there on the 502 side, is somebody filed an application for retail at 1000 4th Avenue. 1000 4th Avenue is the address of the downtown Central Library. So look, folks, medical cannabis is not going to get repealed. It's not going to happen. But it is going to get changed, and I don't particularly care for many of these recommendations either. Every patient I talk to about, is 3 plants enough for you? No. We all know that's not sufficient. We've got a lot of work to do on getting this mess fixed, but we're going to get it fixed. Otherwise, the feds are going to come smash us up. So let's go get it fixed. And I would just ask for one thing. You know, everybody keeps talking about unity, and unity's awesome. If we can get it, that would be great. But can we at least stop the personal attacks? I'm very tired of emails going around the state accusing me of crimes. I don't commit crimes. I just don't do that stuff. So let's take the person out, the individual stuff like that out of this. We've got a movement and an important cause to help save over the next few months, and let's focus on that. Thanks.
And up next we have Chris Kelly from the Association of Cannabis Breeders and Growers, and following him we'll have Dale Rogers, Brian Day, and then Douglas Hyatt.
Thank you everybody for being here. I am the current sitting president of the Association of Cannabis Breeders and Growers. I am a patient and a cannabis entrepreneur. I run a clone collective where we donate CBD and CBG clones to vets with PTSD and children with cancer. It's time for us to move the discussion forward by pivoting to a grown-up conversation about an industry. All movements eventually come to their destination. They become an industry, and we need to start acting like that. One of the things we talk about a lot at ACBG is the economics of cannabis and the real economics of the entire industry. Did you know that a 20,000-acre hemp farm produces 1.1 million barrels of oil in a year? So that means with 9 hemp farms in each state, we could replace a $760 billion oil refining business. That's just hemp. Recreation, you know, a much more appropriate comparison than liquor is coffee. Coffee's an $11 billion industry. It's grown in equatorial regions. It's manicured, it's processed, it's shipped, it's sold by the pound. It's a commodity. That's all recreational cannabis is. And we need to start talking about it like that in order to move the conversation forward. On to the reason we're here is medicinal. You know, cancer research alone is a $340 billion industry. That's cancer research. My version of cancer research is a kid in his basement breeding CBD clones. That's cancer research. You know, going on the internet, going to Coursera, going to MIT OpenCourse, using some Google Scholar, and actually doing some research, finding peer-reviewed paper. You know, that's our responsibility. This should not be regulated this way at home. At home, we should be able to grow as many plants as we can, as long as we live there. You know, I think that that's a very important thing to say, as long as we live there. We don't want people to abuse the system, you know, but at the same time, some patients that I work with, you know, I have a 9-year-old patient who has leukemia lymphoma, and we make 20 grams of activated BHO for her every 2 weeks. You know, that's just one patient. In order to split that down and for her to take a correct dose, that's what we need to do. You know, if I grow echinacea at home, I can grow as much as I want. But the second I put that through a subcritical extractor, all of a sudden I get regulated like a pharma company, as it should be, right? The company that I work with now, we're taking our company to a biotechnology level. We're attracting serious investment, and we plan on contributing high-skilled jobs, starting in Washington, eventually international. We need to pivot this conversation out of Seattle and out of Washington. What we're doing right now is standing on the precipice of a new industry for our nation. You know, this is the .com era all over again. Everybody that's sitting here is an innovator. We're involved in something amazing. This is a $2.3 trillion industry a year. All we need to do is make sense to our legislators, and if we don't like the job that they're doing, we replace them. Very easy. Last thing I'll say, and then I'll get out of your hair. I've been a black market breeder and grower for 20 years. Only the last 2 years, have I been in the public light. And I've been working with CBD and CBG the whole time. The reason that I was an underground grower is because I could not afford to play with anybody else. Economic justice and legal responsibility are a huge thing here. And what we have to do is leave a clear path from the black market to legal and economic responsibility. And that starts by allowing a plant count to happen. Allowing numerous plants in our house, not just 6. That way, somebody that lives down in Rainier Avenue can put a seed into some soil, can start providing for his family, start a collective, start working with patients, attract investment, and perhaps become the next Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, you know, Jeff Bezos. They're out there, they're waiting for us, but we can't stifle the innovation with legislation. Thank you.
And right now we have Dale Rogers from the Cannabis Research Collective.
Thank you very much. The very first thing I'd like to say is I hear a lot about top shelf medicine. The patients that I know, including myself, cannot fiscally or physically reach the top shelf. We need an even playing field here. So with that being said, you know, I've spent my whole entire life in Washington State. I moved to San Francisco for 6 years. I've worked in the medical field. So working in the medical field, I've worked with the end-of-life issues, cancer, AIDS, nursing homes, and I love my geriatric patients. They have really good dirty jokes. But when I worked at University of California at San Francisco, it was the #1 AIDS cancer research clinic in the whole world. And so we had a lot of specialists that would come in. And we did research. And I'd ask patients, why are you coming in for research? And each one said, I want to be a part of something. I want to help out. So I would draw tubes of blood, and I would ask him, hey, can you donate an extra tube for research? Yes, I want to be a part of something. And that's when, from that position in that table, I turfed a lot of patients to the Cannabis Buyers Club, Dennis Pros Club. A few years after that, I moved back home to Seattle, where I was introduced to Miss Joanna McKee. And as you've heard several times up here, the year 1995 was a magical year in Washington State. This is where a lot of the old timers, Joanna McKee, Jeannie Cole Wells, have got together, and also Allison Jim Holcomb. We all got together for a united front and started talking about medical cannabis. And I'm proud to be one of the architects for Green Cross Patient Co-op and founder of Compassion in Action, where we've now gone into the role model of Cannabis Research Collective, because we need to do the research as a collective whole. We have one of the best opportunities that are right in front of us here today. A long time ago, I couldn't tell you why the Brownies worked. They did. But here, today, we have the research, we have the numbers, and we need to continue to push on for that research. Now, this is not an agreeable role model for all patients, But I know a lot out there who don't want to go to a 502 store. They want to go to a conservative place that looks like their doctor's office. And that is their right. And so they would actually probably be wanting to be involved in research. We could get medicines to them at a cheaper price. We can try out new different types of breeds and strains to better the research for the patients. I know for me, I'd rather have a strain that is tailored to best fit my needs instead of smoking something that doesn't. And you know what? My doctor wants me smoking less medicine too, and to have the most effective medicine. The great thing is, throughout the years, in 1999, there was a ONCD study put out by the president, and then drug czar Barry McCaffrey said, we're going to put it out there. And so they want to know about marijuana and is it a gateway drug? Well, I got to go through that research with Joanna McKee and Green Cross, and yeah, they're listed. And at the end of this study, and I mean it's a big, thick old book, it said, no, cannabis does not lead to harder drugs. Underage alcohol and tobacco does. That research just kind of backfired on that. So I really love my research phase, and we have some of the best research doctors that are and have been come from the Northwest. We have Dr. Sunil Agarwal, and I was involved with the UW study with him, my collective, and one of the oldest medical strains, Plum, was featured in that, and it was a geographical study. I started Dungey Medical with authorizations. That was with Dr. Greg Carter, who has been published and who's known nationally for working with ALS. But he did a dosing report and he continues doing medical cannabis research. There was a day when Dr. Michelle Sexton came up and we went to go check out the 2 testing laboratories here. And she sat there and she talked to the folks, and I went around and looked under the cupboards and kind of opened up the drawers to see, how their lab worked, because I'm used to working in the lab. So when people say that we're unregulated, we haven't had the opportunity to be regulated, because we would definitely love to work with the Department of Health and also the Agriculture Department. These are our 2 specialties because they're the ones that work with the growing and also with the food. So they're the ones who certify those. And that is what I'm really looking for. It's a collaboration between the state, the county, the city, and the patients, and have an open-end research so we can all learn together. I can tell you, our gardeners and our growers that I've had for a good 20 years who have stepped up to the plate, we've gone into serious debt to bring some of these high CBD strains. It's not cheap doing the research that we need to get a strain out there that's going to benefit patients. And it would be really great if we could have the testing department out of the UW, the agriculture department, so that they can meet with the growers for 20 years to come up with a better method. So today, what I'm out here arguing for is for research so we can make it better for all the patients and have an understanding. And at the end of that, that will also benefit the recreational consumer. Thank you very much.
I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors who made this event possible: The Stranger, Washington Normal, World Famous Cannabis Farmers Market, Canna MLS, the Center for the Study of Cannabis and Social Policy, Northwest Patient Resource Center, Cannabis Medical Dictionary, Deep Green, Real Legalization, Washington Cannabis Association, the Indoor Sun Shop, and the Washington Seed Bank. And now we have Douglas Hyatt from Sensible Washington.
How's everybody doing? It's great to be here. I work with Sensible Washington. I also work with November Coalition. And I'm privileged to be able to work with those groups. I've been defending medical cannabis patients in this state for a long time, back before there was a medical cannabis law, back when I was relying on something called medical necessity, which they took away from us, but which we got back in a little case called Kurtz that just came out this year. We have a real big problem in the movement, whether you're talking about medical marijuana or recreational recreational marijuana or legal marijuana or some variation thereof. We have a huge problem because we have not changed the law. Marijuana remains illegal. It remains illegal at every level. It's illegal at the state level. It's illegal at the federal level. There is no shelter here. We have got to get some. But the problem is that we have put the regulation in front of the legalization. They shouldn't be able to regulate you when they can still put you in jail. They shouldn't be able to say to you, you gotta pay taxes when they're still putting you in the fucking jail. You cannot accept this situation. It's an absurd situation we find ourselves in. We have a worthless memo from the federal government. How do we know it's worthless? Because every other goddamn memo we've gotten from the federal government is worthless. Every single one. I don't trust those guys as far as I can throw a piece of cheesecake underwater. They won't tell you the truth about anything. And what they're doing right now is wrong. It's really wrong. They're telling you that a memo has the force of law. Well, it doesn't. And Jeff Steinborn's sitting right back there. Ask him. Because I run into him in federal court and we go, gosh, what are we going to do now? Harsh language is our defense again? Our charming personalities, which we don't possess? We're in Yakima. We're in Spokane. We're not Seattle-centered. We're getting our ass kicked all over the state. This isn't funny. Because we've got access in King County, and we've got a few dispensaries here, and we've got some collectives, or whatever the hell you want to call them this week. We think we've made some progress? No. People are going to prison in Eastern Washington. They are being charged federally. We've got cases with 15 goddamn plants in federal court. Jeff has a 15-plant case in Yakima. I've got a 40-plant case and 5 family members looking at 15 years in federal court in Spokane. They are being deprived of their state right to a medical defense because they have been charged in federal court. And they are going to continue to charge people in federal court. And if they don't like you, or they've got some other reason, or something else is going on, they need a scapegoat of the week, it could be you. That's where we're at. The reality, you want a reality check? Pete Holmes was up here saying that prohibition is the problem. God damn right it is.
Damn right.
But if you think the solution is regulation, you are out of your fucking mind. The solution is legalization, not regulation. Let's get it legal. Get it legal for everybody. Then we'll get it legal for patients. That's what I thought. But that's not how it's working out. Because we screwed up. We've got a state-run monopoly sitting there that's impervious to the market that they're now going to prop up, and greed is going to cause them to throw all of you under the bus for fucking money. Again, that's all that counts in this society. You want to talk about effective advocacy? Bullshit. It's about money. If you got the money, you win. You don't got the money, you don't. That's really the reality. I just happen to believe that if we all got together again and we went to grassroots and we really fought, that we might get somewhere. And I still believe that because of people like Nora Callahan and Chuck Arnsberry and Jeff and others and Vivian and all the folks at Hempfest and Steve Sarich and all those people that have been fighting too. I don't care who you are, if you're fighting, you gotta keep fighting because we are not even close. We are not even close. We're miles away from where we need to be. And they are taking this template that has done this to us here and exporting it to other places saying, oh, let's do it here. None of this stuff has resulted in a change in the law. None of this stuff has resulted in the end of the drug war. None of this stuff has resulted in legal cannabis. What we've got is an absurd situation that we must rededicate ourselves to fighting. There is no other way. We have to fight for patients this time, just like we fought for them before. And there's Joanna right in front of me, that I have been with this woman for years, and Dale was right here before me.
He's the guy that ruined my life like this. I was a normal lawyer till he got a hold of me and Joanna got a hold of me. Maybe I was not normal, but I'll give you that one. I'm sure not normal now. But at any rate, there's a guy coming up right here behind me, you know? And his name is Ryan Day. And he's got a kid. And that's kind of the reason that I got into this whole thing. Except it wasn't a kid for me, it was a lot of AIDS patients that were trying to stay alive. And I thought to myself, is this society so fucked up that we can't give compassion to people that are trying to stay alive using a non-traditional medicine? I think we all know what the answer that I got was. There's a guy here trying to use medicine to take care of his sick kid, just like I use medicine to take care of my mom. And anybody that would interfere with my right to take care of my mom or his right to take care of his kid is going to go through me. You're going to have to run me over, you're going to have to kill me. Don't just fight me, you're going to have to kill me before I stop fighting for people like him and my mom and Dale and Allison and all those people, that Allison. These people have been making it happen. They have defined compassion for me. They have taught me what true courage is all about. And I don't want to hear people talking about Rick Smith unless they knew him, unless they held him in his arms. I held that man in my arms numerous times. He was my conscience. He was my conscience. He taught me everything. Don't tell me what he would and wouldn't support. I'm not going to try to speak for him. Unfortunately, he's gone. And there will not be another like him. There will not. But there are people like this man right here, and there are people like Joanna sitting right there, and they still need help. And as long as I'm drawing any goddamn breath, I'm going to be helping them, and I'm going to be fighting, and I'm not going to shut the fuck up. Yeah!
How do you follow that? There have been a couple of people who have made reference to me so far today. My name's Ryan Day. I'm not really significant in and of myself. The only reason I'm here is because of my son Hayden. Hayden is 5 years old. He has Dravet syndrome. It's a very rare and catastrophic form of epilepsy. And on a normal day, Hayden has over 100 seizures a day. We sit and we watch as he slowly has seizure after seizure after seizure and jerks himself to the ground. We've been lucky so far that we haven't had to put him in a helmet, although we've had that suggestion made. I'm really lucky to be here to be able to tell you that about 2.5 months ago, we started Hayden on CBD. We use a CBD extract from medical marijuana, and it has been miraculous. Hayden, on most days now, doesn't have any seizures that we can see. None that we can detect. Hayden had been developmentally stuck at about 2 years old for the last 3 years. He just turned 5 last month. Hayden is starting to develop again. He is starting to make connections. He is starting to use new words. He is starting to put words together. My son is coming out of his epileptic haze. And it's just been an amazing thing to see. And we started this, and I got my growing tent set up because there's no way we can afford this to buy at even dispensary prices. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Hayden requires about 1 ounce a week in medicine, and at roughly $300 an ounce, it's over $10,000 a year that it would cost our family. You hear about families with medical insurance going bankrupt? That's a family like ours. We max out our copay every year, and we max it out on the credit card. So we need to grow. And I started growing, and suddenly I saw that the Liquor Control Board was threatening to take away that right to home grow. The only way that I could do this, I don't know how many of you are parents out there, but the fact of the matter is, legal or illegal, I'm going to do what I have to for my son. that's very scary. And that's something that I hope, that's a decision that I hope I won't have to make. And I hope that our legislators will hear from patients like everybody here and stakeholders and say we need to make sure that we have a reasonable policy in place. But I want to tell you also that I'm new to this entire culture. I've never done drugs in my life. I was a U.S. Marine. I was considered pretty ultra-conservative in a lot of circles. But I'm here because I believe in this, and I believe that what you are all fighting for is right. But I also want to tell you that you need to really stop and think about how you're viewed by the other side. We need to work with them. We are a minority. We are not in the majority, and if people look at us as the Tea Party of medical marijuana, we're going to lose, period. I actually work as a lobbyist and an advocacy professional. This is what I do for a living, and I'm telling you, we need to be reasonable. We do need to compromise sometimes. Not all the way, but we need to compromise sometimes. And we need to make sure that people don't see us as crazies that can be written off, that they see us as patients, they see us as caregivers, they see us as people who care. I want to tell you that Alex Cooley, who spoke here earlier, this man cares. He donates medicine to all sorts of people. My grow isn't started yet. But Alex donated medicine to my son so that we could start him on CBD and we would not lose another day to seizures. And he's not the only one. Dax at New Leaf, who's the maker of Dama Oil, has donated medicine to dozens of families whose children have Dravet syndrome. There is a vibrant medical community of producers and processors and people who care. They're not growing marijuana and selling it to get rich. They're growing marijuana and selling it so they can afford to help people. And it's important that we don't lose them. We don't lose that community. Because when they go away, if they go away, all we're going to be left with is for-profit retail stores where it's only about turning the product, and they're not going to care if they carry the product that's right for a little boy with seizures. They're going to carry a product that's going to turn the fastest and make them the most money. So I just hope that we can all work together, and you've heard people talk about unity, and you've also heard people bashing each other up here. And you bash each other, you're weakening us, and we're going to lose. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. We will. So let's try for little boys like my son Hayden, and for all the patients who are here who cannabis is saving their life, because if we don't work together, we're all going to lose. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan, for sharing your very important story. Up next, we have Grandma Kat Jeter from Deep Green.
Generally, they tell me, get the hell off the mic. Hey guys, happy solstice. You are my Canna family. What makes you my Canna family? We are dug in on this issue together. We have rejected the prevailing paradigm that says there's something to be afraid of here. There's not. There's not. The only thing to be afraid of here is this overarching selling of fear. What are we saving the children from? A neuroprotectant? They've tried every single excuse in the book, and every one of them falls flat as we've examined here, from the science to the social aspect. However, every time, I'm going to hark back to what a couple of folks said. Now, let me go on first. By the way, I don't know if you noticed I put my speech down, because most everything's been said here today, and we're just kind of gilding the lily, but there are a couple of things that I feel like we really need to acknowledge, and that is we are compassionate people. We're extraordinarily compassionate people. Everyone's been spinning out their stories, and it's right. Everyone does give and give and give. I'm no different from them. They're no different from me. I can't look at a parent and say, oh no, I'm going to charge you for that which would save your child's life. Forget it. Can't do it. Can't look at myself in the mirror in the morning. So, what is the real problem here? The real problem is we keep buying into this, treat them with fear. You know what? We're a demographic, we're a majority, guys. 62% of the United States, the only reason the whole thing isn't repealed right now is you're not in the streets. You aren't engaging your friends to get in the streets with you. The people who have already bought into your improvement in healthcare. We've got to speak out, and we've got to speak out now. The curtain is coming down on mega corporations. Just in case you hadn't noticed, the activism level is ratcheting up every day because it cannot be perpetuated. And cannabis is one of the core issues of this. So I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things. I'm going to ask you to double down with all of your buddies. Christmas is coming, or maybe you celebrate the solstice or Kwanzaa or whatever it is. Out yourself. Just in case you aren't already. Your patients, tell them to out themselves. Sure, there's a little danger there. There's a little fear. Happened to me when I came out of the closet for being a big old lesbian. But you know what? The people who love me still love me. And it's the same daggone issue. When you can explain with clarity to them how you are so much more improved, they remember how you were. And they're happy to have you here today. And they're going to be ready to double down with you on that, same as they were with gays and lesbians as we all came out of the closet. All right. And the other thing is, guys, we got to quit killing ourselves. We got to quit standing around with shotguns in a circle and just firing indiscriminately. I heard Mahatma Gandhi invoked today. I guarantee you he never called someone an F and something or another. If we're going to talk the talk, we best start walking the walk, or Grandma's going to be by to see you. You guys, peace, happy solstice, love each other. We are together on this issue. Repeal prohibition. Let's go. Do it now. 62% of us are not wrong. Woo! Thank you.
Next we have Kristen Floor and Kitty and Jeremy Miller from the world famous Cannabis Farmers Market.
Hi you guys, my name is Kristen Floor. Most of you know me as a victim of this drug war, but I am much more than that. I am a national coordinator for the Human Solution. I represent our prisoners in this war, and I am here to remind everyone why we need to preserve patient rights and safe, affordable access in our state. You see, for decades, the strongest activist in Washington has taught us about the lies the federal government has put on our plant. They have told us the truth about the medical value of our plant. And now, regardless of the drug war, our activists have paved the way with knowledge. Thanks to our activists, our sick people currently have safe, affordable access to our plant at a state level. My own father, Richard Floor, rest in peace, worked hard when he lived in Washington collecting signatures to get I-692 on the ballot. I personally followed the laws as a patient ever since. I'm a volunteer at the world-famous Cannabis Farmers Market, where I've met thousands of patients, and I've witnessed the miracles that our plant has had on them. Like Monkey here, who volunteers his time as an activist and wears a marijuana for safer shirt. He sells condoms to our patients at the market, but he's also a patient himself who's had many brain surgeries in the last 6 months. And he's here today still in a monkey suit. To show you guys how safe marijuana is. In fact, he just got out of the hospital a couple days ago. His doctors actually are from the UW, and they recommend that Monkey uses his medicine regularly. While recreational use of cannabis is great, we must put our patients first and not burden them with the taxes or limitations. If we can grow safe medicine, why would we tax it? We don't tax vegetables. Taking the affordability away from our patients and giving profits to commercial growers is unjust and insane. We must protect our growers who have kept some of us alive all these years and not allow the Liquor Control Board to lower the amount they can grow so others can use it for recreation. I must mention our caregivers who are in prison right now because of the medical benefits of cannabis. Some have lost their freedom because they believe in our plant's medical value. We must support their sacrifices and preserve the laws we have worked so hard for. Patients must always come first. As we see sacrifices that the Bellingham 3 are making for their patients. Right now they're facing 30 years in prison. We must preserve our rights, so when our plant prisoners come home from federal custody, like my mom, who lost everything and is allergic to Tylenol, can have a safe medicine to use to cure her headaches. The Liquor Control Board is a group that is clearly uneducated about medical marijuana, and they pose a major threat to some of our sickest people in our community. To allow them to make poor choices about our medical community and our health is inhumane. We must be active. I'm worried that I-502 will incarcerate many more of us. And if our sickest people go to jail, they will risk death. And trust me, my dad died in federal custody, shackled to a hospital bed. I can tell you that death in prison is a living nightmare. I would like to remind you all of some of the fallen heroes like Peter McWilliams, Rick Smith, Jack Hare, Gary Johnson, and my dad. Plus our own ancestors who have used our plant to build our nation. Some have lost their lives being shot down, tormented, and neglected while fighting for our rights to choose for our choice of medicine. On their behalf, and on the behalf of our past generations, we must keep standing together. While the Liquor Control Board is making uneducated recommendations, prohibition is proceeding at full force around the rest of our country. So I would like to remind you that marijuana has never killed anyone, or our laws have. My father's death has taught me not to fear medical marijuana, but to fear the laws and fix them. We must free our people, and to free them we must free our plant. We cannot put any more restrictions on safe access, and we must fight for what we have already accomplished. I would like to encourage you to educate more people and get active, because that will help our voices get heard loud and clear. Help our patients preserve their rights to safe and affordable access by encouraging your friends and your family members and your loved ones to make phone calls regarding our rights and to preserve them. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kitty Miller, and I help run the world's famous cannabis farmers markets. I'm also the president of the Washington chapter of the Human Solution. And I just want to say that it's nice to open these conversations and to talk about our rights, but until we demand that they list cannabis as an herb and not, or as a medicine, not as a scheduled drug, we are going to still see people going to jail. There are people going to jail that are in court right now. And when people go to jail, they're forgotten about. They don't get the medicine they're prescribed. If you're on a special diet, they don't give a shit. If you can't get up and make it to pill call, like Kristen said, you don't get your medicines. When Kristen's dad went to jail, he was prescribed over 30 medications. When they did the autopsy, he had 4 medications in his system. It's time for us to say we're outraged, and it's time for us to start telling our stories, to stop hiding, and to start making phone calls and demand that others do the same. It's time for us to tell our legislators that the laws that they are passing are going to fail. They cannot lump us in with recreational people. Cannabis is a medicine, and they're not going to grow the medicine we need. And 3 plants is ludicrous. When I was paralyzed in my car accident, the least amount of FECO full extract cannabis oil I was given in a day was 3 grams. That's not going to cut it with what they're telling us we can have. Thank you. And this is my husband, Jeremy Miller.
Thanks, everybody. Just like I said, I love that we're opening the conversation. It should have been done a long time ago, I think. Let's hear it for the Seattle Hempfest crew putting this together. I really think that's going to be key. I know right now I feel like there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Everybody has the best idea on how we're going to save medical cannabis or whatever, and I'm not going to say that they don't. But I think that we all need to work together, and we don't need to disregard somebody else's idea just because we think ours might be the best option. And I think starting the conversation like we did here today and keeping it going, just so we keep continuing to talk and working out all our differences, getting everything getting everything together so that way we can move forward and we're not so caught up in our differences that we're just running in a circle. Because what a lot of us forget is that we've been taught a thing called microsegregation ever since we were really young. And they've taught us to divide ourselves based on various different reasons, whether it's our intentions, you know. So we're gonna have a lobbyist day, patient day in January 14th and 15th down at the state capitol. We invite all the patients to come down there. We're gonna help you guys find our legislators and everything like that and give you some suggestions on what we might wanna talk to them about, so that way the legislators up there are hearing our voice, because otherwise they're just gonna do what they think we want, and they're gonna do what this other administration is telling them that they should do, instead of actually listening to the people that they represent, because we're not up there talking to them. So thanks for having us out. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jeremy, Kitty, Kristen, and Monkey. And up next we have Andrew Wickman from Cannabis Biosciences.
Thanks for sticking around, everyone. We'll make this short. I know we all have places to go. I'm here because I believe in the power of marijuana as medicine. I believe in the power of people, and I believe in the power of the government, unfortunately. At Cannabis Biosciences, we ask ourselves a simple question every day. What will happen when we can provide cannabis in a quantifiable, highly bioavailable form with little to no toxicity issues? When we accomplish that, the federal government will listen to what we have to say, because we're speaking their language, the language of science. We face a myriad of challenges in our pursuit of answers, the greatest challenge being the current legal suppression of research, along with the social stigma attached to the psychoactive effects of THC. Our team at Cannabis Biosciences has been working to overcome the current limitations associated with the delivery of essential cannabinoids to the body, specifically providing antioxidants in the form the body recognizes at a highly bioavailable level. Low bioavailability in antioxidants produced in cannabis was a major obstacle to overcome. We surpassed this obstacle by utilizing revolutionary, patented technologies in our extraction process. This extraordinary science enables us to extract antioxidants found in cannabis in nanoparticle size. When we can provide antioxidants in a nanoparticle form, it dramatically increases the scavenging of free radicals while decreasing the necessary dose required to be effective by many times the currently available products on the market, thus creating medicines that are smaller doses while being more effective at an affordable price for the public. The opportunity to deliver free radical scavenging is improved by nanoparticle antioxidants, giving us the ability to address debilitating illnesses such as cancer, viruses, and disorders. So when you pose the question to the Cannabis Bioscience team, is there room in Washington State for social and medicinal marijuana? We pose the question back, is there room for a stable, quantifiable, botanical drug that meets FDA criteria in the state of Washington? We say yes. Yes, there is. We're a Seattle-based company. Thank you for your support. Have a great day.
Thank you, Andrew Wickman, working on some amazing medical technology, really breaking through. Our next speaker is with the Coalition for Cannabis Standards and Ethics, Northwest Patient Resource Center, and Seattle Hempfest. John Davis.
Thank you, Vivid. Thank you all for coming out. I've been listening to all the speakers, and I think that this is really a good thing. And being on the board of Hempfest, as well as a number of the other things that I do, I think that we're going to try to continue this conversation. In listening to the speakers tonight, it occurs to me that we agree on 95% of everything that we're talking about. I mean, there's no one here tonight that has been for any penalties for responsible adult use of cannabis. There has been, everyone has agreed that patients should have affordable, consumer-safe supply to cannabis, medicinal grade cannabis and medicinal preparations. So, we agree. And there's 5% that we don't agree on. Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about that, right? It doesn't, we're humans. We're going to have differences of opinion. Let's celebrate that and come together and say, wow, you're a great person and you have a difference of opinion than me. I'm excited to hear why you think the way you do, right? And we can get together in groups and be strong and talk about these things and have differences of opinion and then go out to dinner, right? We can be allies through this. And let me tell you, that might sound a little utopian. However, we've got something major coming up. Okay, we had the draft recommendations to the Liquor Control Board come out, and we did what we could to make changes. We made some changes. I don't think anyone here thinks that they were enough. But the Liquor Control Board does not get a final say over medical cannabis. The legislature does. Now, we have to be strong through the 2014 legislative session, and strength means working together and working on that 95% and forming coalitions and talking and reaching out. And to do this, because if we don't, we're going to lose. I mean, if you're really for medical access to cannabis, if you really are going to drape yourself in patience and say that you're an advocate, you have to be effective. If you are ineffective and the way you do things closes medical access to cannabis, you may call yourself an advocate, but you're an issue, really. So, in going into this legislative session, let's work together on what we agree in. And can we please, as a community, to do this, let's stop hating each other. Honestly, and a lot of people have said this, but we have all these little cliques and factions, and for some reason they seem to hate each other, or individuals within it. And I've been a drug policy advocate for 22 years now, and I know that, like, oh, this person had a bad business deal with this person, so screw the other guy and everything. And that starts kind of some of these factionalizing things. But we need to put it aside. If we're going to be effective advocates at actually keeping patients' rights together, we're going to have to figure this stuff out. And you know what? You're going to have to forgive people. You know the people out there in the movement that you don't like? You need to shake their hand. You need to put what happened yesterday away and reach out to that person, smile at that person, tell them bygones are bygones, and feel that in your heart. And that way, and for God's sakes, if you're talking to someone and all they can do is accuse someone else of something against the law or nefarious or anything, step away from that person. We no longer have the time to be playing those petty games. We no longer have the time to be attacking each other on a personal level. It's ridiculous, right? And let me tell you another thing that it does that I hear about a lot. Those people out there in the community that are new to it or that are not as confident, those voices don't get heard because those people are afraid to even voice an opinion. Right? They're afraid to come into the dialogue for fear that they're going to be demonized in this hate machine that seems to exist within our community. This is the time we allow all voices to speak. And that does not make that person a bad person. If they've got an opinion that differs than yours, talk to them. Be curious. But let's treat each other with respect. You are all my friends. Thank you guys for coming out, and I respect you for showing up. And let's do this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John Davis from the Northwest Patient Resource Center. While I'm thanking people, I want to thank Mo, Evan, Alicia, Shadiqua, Miranda, and Shirley from Town Hall. What a great venue, what a beautiful space, what a great vibration here. I want to quickly thank our sponsors, The Stranger, Normal Washington, World Famous Cannabis Farmers Market, Canna MLS, Center for Study of Cannabis and Social Policy, Northwest Patient Resource Center, Cannabis Medical Dictionary, Deep Green, Real Legalization, Washington Cannabis Association, the Indoor Sun Shop, how many of us haven't patronized that place? And the Washington Seed Bank, which is the next step after you go to the Sun Shop. I want to thank Jill, our awesome stage manager. You didn't see her, but she's been back there. Amy, our safety patrol director. Corinne, who's watching the clock back there, watching the clock at this event with something else. I want to thank all of our esteemed speakers. You know, I think that we paid for about 2/3 of this event with sponsors. It was several $1,000s. And we only had 30 days to pull this together, and it was stressful. And I apologize to the folks that I was a dictator to in the process. We usually do more of a committee thing, we didn't have much time. I think I can convince the board, possibly, to do another one of these. And because we feel that we are stronger as one community divided by our opinions than we are as a divided community because of our opinions, because we'll walk our talk, if we get another one of these scheduled, we will include the people that weren't here today because we only had so much time. And we had like 34 speakers and people thought we were crazy, but we managed to get through it an hour late. I want to remind you that Hempfest Central is our store and offices at 12351 Lake City Way, at Lake City Way 125th. We'll have our little merch operation downstairs with Sharon and everybody going for a little while. But you can come by anytime on Wednesday through Saturday to Hempfest Central, 1 to 7 p.m. We got some really cool stuff and that helps us pay for the big event coming. I want to thank everybody for participating. Be safe, happy solstice, and have a great, happy holiday season. Thank you.